Okay, the next topic is existence of utility function. Yes. Acha, utility functions we have discussed in previous classes. Yani you have already discussed in MAS that what should be the nature of utility function. uh, Basic nature of functions, utility function or the production function is CES, constant elasticity substitution utility function, or constant elasticity substitution production function. And that is actually the base of any function. On the basis of that function we derive that either the function is Cauchy linear utility function, or the function is Leontief utility function, or the function is Leo means a linear utility function, or the Cobb-Douglas utility function. Clear? All based on the yani derived from the CES utility function, constant elasticity substitution utility function. Clear? Uh, and what is the meaning of the constant elasticity substitution? Constant elasticity substitution means when we define a utility function along uh, any indifference curve. Clear? So CES means constant elasticity substitution. Elasticity of substitutions will be the same. Clear? For that utility function. So that's why whenever we define any utility function, is the elasticity value or the substitution of elasticity will be the constant. It is our assumptions. Clear? Okay. Today we are going to prove that existence of the utility function, how you can define utility function is exist here. Okay. The first of all, the preference relation on X is continuous. Continuous if it is preserved under limits that sequence of pairs of pairs that is X equal to limit X and approaches to infinity. Y we have फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल देखने में तो ये बड़ी अजीब सी स्टेटमेंट लग रही है, क्लियर, आई विल एक्सप्लेन, अब ये आसान हो जाएगी। हाउ, देखो ये कह रहा है कि नाउ द प्रेफरेंस रिलेशंस दैट इज प्रेफर्ड, any preference relations means ke it is kind of the binary relations and you preferred something on another thing, clear, on x is a vector space, clear, is continuous if it is preserved under limit. What are the limits? That with xn preferred on yn for any sequence of pairs, that is xn comma yn, n goes once to infinity, x limit xn when n approaches towards the infinity always preferred y, clear, that n approaches limit infinity yn. अब देखो, look at here, this is kind of the rough work, समझा रहा हूं। Why? You write in vector notations, I told you that के x1, x2 and so on xn, if you recall it, these are the vector of commodity, vector choice x1, x2, x3, x1, क्लियर। यानी मैंने तुम्हें कहा था कि these are not the powers in microeconomic theory when we put यानी powers or superscript, तो they represent the vector of choices, vector of commodity, that is commodity of vector x1, it is x2, it is x3 and so on, हम ये कह रहे हैं, क्लियर। अब हम ये कह रहे हैं कि भाई फॉर एग्जाम्पल इट इज इनफाइनाइटली मूविंग, वी डोंट नो, क्लियर। अच्छा, व्हाई वी आर सेइंग इनफाइनाइट, लुक एट हियर, भाई फॉर एग्जाम्पल हमने कहा कि भाई दिस इज काइंड ऑफ अ स्पेस दैट इज रिप्रेजेंटेड बाय कैपिटल एक्स, it is closed or infinite space? It is infinite space, it is not the closed space. Why? Because it move in upward direction infinitely, or we mark that infinite space by capital X, clear। अच्छा, अब फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं I plot an indifference curve in that space, मैंने एक प्लॉट किया indifference curve in that space, ये प्लॉट कर लिया, ठीक है। So I can plot multiple indifference curves here, ऐसे ही है। अच्छा, कैसे प्लॉट कर सकता हूं भाई? फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैंने कहा कि भाई लेट अज्यूम हियर इट इज x, स्मॉल x, क्लियर, राइट, and there is y or another choice of bundles, मैंने यहां पे मार्क किया y, ठीक है। तो ये मुझे पता है कि that y will lie on the upper side of IC, ऐसा ही है, क्लियर, बिल्कुल, ओके। अच्छा, I told you that कि this is technical term in mathematical or in term of the topology, it is called level set, यही बताया था, it is called level sets, हमने level set कहा था, ठीक है। when we plots between, यानी when we plot between two dimensional space, it is kind of the level sets, हमने level set का नाम दिया था इसको। अब हम ये कह रहे हैं कि भाई मैं ये लिख सकता हूं कि भाई y, एक समझाने के लिए मैं ये लिख सकता हूं कि भाई x and y both belong x, ऐसे ही है, x से बिलोंग कर रहा है, X is a kind of the vector space in open field of real number, infinitely set of real number, ऐसे ही हो गया, infinitely set of real number, clear, and it move infinitely in open space, right? अच्छा, अब मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि भाई मैं ये लिख सकता हूं कि भाई x यानी y प्रिफर्ड ऑन x, ठीक है, राइट? अच्छा, अब ये भी लिख सकता हूं, अगर ये लिख दिया तो व्हाट डज इट मीन्स कि इट इज काइंड ऑफ द ओपन सेट, नॉट द क्लोज सेट, आई टोल्ड यू, क्लियर, कि इट विल नॉट टच द बाउंड्री ऑफ दैट सेट, राइट? ओके, यानी इट नेवर इक्वल टू द एक्स. अगर लेट आई पुट हियर दिस वन, सो इट मीन्स कि इट इज क्लोज्ड एंड बाउंडेड, क्लियर, बिल्कुल, राइट? यानी अब हम क्या कह रहे हैं, बाउंडेड, व्हाई? बिकॉज यू नेवर मूव इन द नेगेटिव क्वाड्रेंट, तो यहां अगर रुक जाएगा तो मैं ये लिख सकता हूं ना भाई ये कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट्स 0 क्लियर, 0 के बराबर होगा और 0 से बड़ा होगा, क्लियर, और सिमिलरली समथिंग एल्स. अब हमने अगर लेट्स से y is here, that is the condition of this one, clear, y is here, vice versa, again it is x and now the y is here, is possibility, okay? तो what does it means कि I can write that कि भाई x preferred on y, clear, okay? So first of all, what I recall it when we defined in this way, or I write this one, let's say कि अगर मैं कहता हूं कि for example it is plus x and y belongs to yes प्लस है, एक पढ़ा था, x and y belongs to x, क्लियर, लिख सकता हूं, कैन आई राइट x and y belongs to x, कैपिटल X, such that right y at least good as x, okay? So it is called upper contour set, it is called upper contour set, we call the name of upper contour, clear, and it is called the lower contour set. What does it means कि x such that y belongs to x, such that x at least good as y, so these are upper contour and lower contour set, clear? अच्छा, अब आ जाओ, अब when they are moving in the open space, if we say how you can define this, can I elaborate? मैं ये लिख सकता हूं कि भाई this is actually, इसको मिटा दूं नीचे से, x1 x2 so on xn, clear, इस तरह मूव कर रहा है, and start from 1 to infinity, clear, okay. What I am saying, I am saying k, and this is y, and this is y1, y2, and so on yn, and again x goes to 1 to infinity, right, clear. अब क्या कह रहा हूं, आई एम सेइंग कि either x1 you have a choice vector. When you compare this one y1 to, you always prefer x1 instead of y1. If you have the choice factor of x2, so you always prefer on y2, and so on till infinity, clear. So what I am saying, the preference relations at least good as on x vector space is continuous, clear. There will be no discontinuity, it always continuous, is preserved under limit that with x and at least good as y and for any sequence of pairs, that is this one, any sequence of pair, in any sequence of pair, clear, always preferred x on y. How? X and limited yani infinitely approaches infinitely, that's finally it is the set of x, clear, and always preferred x on y when you apply any limit value on y approaches to infinitely, clear, bilkul. So that should be preserved under that limit. If it does not preserve, it means that your preferences are not continuous, clear.
लोअर कंट्रोल की बात करें,
अभी मैं लोअर कंट्रोल पे नहीं आया, मैं आई एम सेइंग कि अगर ये कंडीशन वैलिड नहीं रहती है, ठीक है, in that condition your preferences will be discontinuous under certain point. Let's take example. मैं यहां आया, x1 preferred y1, but now when I move towards the x2 choice factor, so x2 does not prefer y2, so it means ke under the limit of this condition, when n approaches towards 1 to infinity, that condition is not valid when I approaches towards the x2 choice factor, clear. Look at this one. मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि for example कि I have one, let's example of the location and salary, clear.
समझ में आएगा, एक जो चॉइस है x1 y1 लिया तो वो सेट था, लेकिन सेकंड में गया तो x1 ज्यादा प्रेफर हो गया y2 तो
हाँ, तो ये नहीं होना चाहिए, इसका मतलब है डिसकंटिन्यूअस हो गया, क्लियर. तो कंटिन्यूटी इंप्लाइज दैट कि always infinitely you move in the space of x,
यानी
you
x prefer
exactly x always preferred on y, clear. ठीक है. अब we don't know that कि what nature of choice of commodity x1 choice vector has. Let's say I preferred location more as compared to the salary when I move towards the another job, clear. So I always preferred location, ठीक है. If something is here कि after certain time कि I does not like my location, the salaries matter for me or the reputation of organization is matter for me, so it means कि my exactly, so my preferences are discontinuous. So discontinuous is my preferences, so I am not have the property of the rationalities here because I am not consistent in my choices, clear. So consistency or rationality is required कि your mathematically you have to prove the continuity. Consistency is psychological behavior, okay. It is not concerned with the mathematical relations, but to prove the consistency and rationality you require some mathematical condition. That is your mathematical conditions. Clear? So it means that it is the rationality is the combination of the mathematical requirement as well as the आपकी psychological requirement or the psychological behavior of the consumer is here. Clear? बिल्कुल. अब now let's move forward. यहां तक क्लियर हो गया भाई? अच्छा, अब हम देखो कैसे डिसकंटिन्यूस हो जाता है. तो अच्छा, सेकंड चीज, एक इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज हियर कि योर चॉइस शुड बी closed and bounded with respect to the upper contour and with respect to the lower contour. So we can write here so now implies that all x that should be bounded and closed. Bounded and closed with respect to a plus and a minus, sorry, upper contour and the lower contour set. Why? Because देखो, one important thing is that because we don't need a null set. Clear? Something should be consumed. Clear? And we assume that the every another indifference curve is very thick in nature. Sorry, thin in nature. बारीक को thin बोलते हैं ना? Thin in nature. Whenever it should not be thick in nature, because what? Meaning we don't like this kind of indifference curve. This is not the nature of indifference curve. Okay? Because you will have, this is x1 and it is x bar. So it is going to be violate the property of indifference curve ke your level of utility keep constant. So here your level of utility will not keep constant. At x double bar, your level of utility will be higher as compared to x bar, x dash. Clear? So it means it is kind of this one.
Sir,
Yes.
Sir, we can say that null set is not there because without consumption there will be no utility.
Yes, yes. Clear? So if it is not closed and bounded, so it means that you are not able to touch this point. So it means that if this lie on, for example, x1, सही है. So I am saying y is strictly preferred on x. So it never touches to the x. ऐसे ही हो गया ना, तो कभी भी नहीं आएगा, तो यहाँ तो आएगा ही नहीं. तो it means कि if your budget line tangent in that region where they are not going to equal with each other, clear? So you will not find any choice vector that optimize your level of utility subject to the budget constraint. तुम्हें मिलेगा ही नहीं, क्योंकि तुम्हारे पास तुमने क्या कह दिया, x, because it is not closed and bounded. हमने कह दिया नहीं है, क्योंकि always strictly greater than this one. तो हम तो चाहते ही हैं कि हम बजट लाइन को मूव करते जाए और जहां पे हमारा लेवल ऑफ सेटिस्फैक्शन हमारे बजट को सेटिस्फाई कर रहा है, दैट इज आवर लेवल ऑफ सेटिस्फैक्शन. तो इट मींस के अगर ये इक्वल नहीं है तो यू विल हैव द सर्टेन लेवल ऑफ बंडल्स दैट विल नॉट सेटिस्फाई योर बजट कंस्ट्रेन, क्योंकि वो तुम्हारे इस चॉइस फैक्टर के अंदर है ही नहीं जो तुम्हारी कंडीशन वैलिड हो रही है। तो हमें इसलिए ये लगाया जाता है, यूं हम नहीं लिखते। एट लीस्ट गुड एज एक्स, एट लीस्ट गुड एज वाई। क्लियर? अच्छा, अब नाउ so what about okay, now let's take the example lexicographic preferences. Preferences continuous to see this to see this. Consider a sequence of bundles and am I right? So this is best example of the discontinuous preferences. When we apply the limit, so it is not going to be valid here. So continuity requires that infinitely you any move in a space or the commodity or the vector space X, infinitely you move, or you compare any choice vector which you initially compare, infinitely you always prefer that bundle of choice over another one. So your choice should not discontinuous, or your preference should not be changed. If your preferences are going to be changed, so it means that your preferences are lexicographic preferences, not continuous. Clear? So it means suppose that suppose that rational preference relation on X is continuous, continuous, there is continuous function which no, X L is a ray or ray from origin defined over the field of real numbers. ठीक है, defined. Okay, suppose that the relation rational preferences relations on X is continuous. There is a continuous utility function which represents preferences, and X is a vector space that is defined over the field of the real number. Clear? Positive real number, that's I'm going to write here. And L move towards the positive real number, and we are focused towards the ray L. It is a ray or the diagonal ray from origin defined over the field of the real number. Clear? What does it mean? Ki, for example, we draw a ray from the origin. Clear? It is kind of this one, and ultimately there are multiple real numbers is here along this L, ray, yani for example this is L, right? And this over the, for let's say it is capital X is here, so I can write this one. Clear? Any real number along that ray, ठीक है, another real number along that ray, all are the positive. Clear? And this is the part of X, right? Acha, why we select this one? It is not necessary it will be up a 45-degree line, ठीक है? Remember, anyway it start from origin. Clear? And now, okay, so up we can call it that ray consists of, yani L is L consists of all the locus point of real numbers, all the locus point of vectors, ऐसे ही है, all the point locus point of vectors or the real number उस पे मुश्तमिल है, ठीक है? Consists of all the points of vectors or set of all the locus point of vectors. Clear? Or set of all the points of locus point of vectors. And now E Euclidean space. Euclidean space. E is Euclidean space on that ray. Yani space between two vector choices. Clear? And which is very approaches to zero. It is called Euclidean space. Okay, the distance between any two vector choices which is close to zero. Minimum. Clear? Clear? So it is called the Euclidean space. Okay. Up now, देखो क्या लिखा है मैंने, रे प्लॉट की इन वेक्टर स्पेस. This is the space which is capital X. सही है. And in that vector space, I select the point E, which lie along that ray, and this is any scale alpha which is greater than or equal to 0, and that value is alpha xe when it lie we are on that point. Clear? And this value and this value, you are indifferent. Why? You are indifferent, so level of utility will be the same. Alpha x equal to ux. Clear? Because both lie on the same. And similarly, if there is another y which belongs to this two-dimensional positive space, clear, if it also lie on that indifference curve, so you will be indifferent between y and x. So yani you are indifferent between this and this, and the level of utility keep constant.
ये y नीचे
नहीं इसी पे
ये पॉइंट कॉर्नर वाला है.
yes इसी पे. Clear? अब now I'm saying कि when you move upper side along that ray, it is alpha bar, which is another value of alpha. Clear? And it is another distance e, which I mark Euclidean distance from that choice vector. Clear? Because I have told that के indifference curve is very thin, so it is either it is very minor distance. Clear? But when you move towards the upper side of the indifference curve, clear, so your level of utilities increase. Clear? So you always prefer that one as compared to this one. So it is your continuity implies. Clear? When we move towards the upper side of indifference curve, clear, either it is very close to this indifference curve but it has the higher level of utility, it is the requirement of our continuity. If it is not the continuity requirements, so it means that there is the possibility that you still restrain towards this one as compared to this one. Take this one, let's say that I am a dialysis patient. ठीक है, I have certain time to spend on dialysis. It is my basic requirement. That bundle of choice provides that time period. Clear? And that bundle of choice provide a higher level of other commodity choices, but it does not provide the time to spend on dialysis, for example, or it is going to provide the higher level of yani more times to spend on dialysis. So it is also it is not my need or my health. Why? Because I don't want to spend the 5 times in a week on dialysis, because as per doctor my physical health requirement is only a 2 times to visit dialysis. Clear? Not a 5 times. So although that choice of bundles have a high level of option of the dialysis or other commodity, but I will never prefer. So in this condition I will restrain here, so my preferences will be discontinuous there. ठीक है?
सर तो आप तो नॉन सेटाइटी बता रहे हैं ना
जी,
नॉन सेटाइटी जैसे आप अपर डिफेंस कर जा रहे हैं तो यू वांट मोर एंड मोर
एग्जैक्टली,
ये आप बता रहे हैं
एग्जैक्टली, नॉन सैटिएशन,
हाँ वही
एग्जैक्टली, या क्लियर, बिल्कुल. सो यहाँ पे आपकी डिसकंटिन्यूटी, तो दैट्स व्हाई द कंटिन्यूटी इज नेसेसरी टू प्लॉट टू डिफाइन अ यूटिलिटी फंक्शन. वरना यहाँ क्या होगा, यू कैन नॉट डिफाइन योर यूटिलिटी फंक्शन बिकॉज यू डोंट हैव द लेवल ऑफ सेटिस्फैक्शन हियर बिकॉज ऑफ द डिसकंटिन्यूटी इन योर चॉइसेस. So continuity is necessary conditions to define your level of utility. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब एक थोड़ा सा और in the coming lecture we will have the detailed relationship to define the lexicographic preferences and the transitivity and the reflexivity. So in the coming lecture we will discuss from there, and further I will try to move towards the vector space. Clear? It is meaning compulsory. I think you have to be clear about the concept of the vector space. I think उसमें भी डिस्कस किया होगा तुम लोगों ने वेक्टर स्पेस, तो इकोनोमेट्रिक्स के अंदर तो थोड़ा बहुत वो होगा, और वी विल रिलेट विद आवर माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स कंसेप्ट, तो इजीली कर जाओगे तो वो हम उसको इंशाल्लाह कर लेंगे. ठीक है. थैंक यू सो मच. अल्लाह हाफिज. ठीक.